The unseen gift, what true forgiveness can teach us. Have you ever felt the searing heat of anger, the suffocating weight of guilt, or the quiet agony of resentment? We all have. We live in a world where grievances can fester, where a single hurtful act can echo through years, even lifetimes. But what if there was a way to transcend that cycle? A way so profound, so counterintuitive, that it could dissolve the very chains that bind us, not just to others, but to ourselves. Today, on Buddha Story, we're not just telling an ancient tale. We're unlocking a secret to liberation, a secret woven into the fabric of human interaction, revealed through one of the most astonishing encounters in the life of the Buddha. This isn't about simply saying, "I forgive you." It's about a radical transformation, a deeper understanding of self and other that can free you in ways you never imagined. Stay with us. The journey to true forgiveness might just be the most revolutionary path you ever walk. Chapter 1: The Seeds of Discontent. A modern man's ancient frustration, the illusion of control, success, family, and the unseen threat. In the vibrant heart of ancient India, nestled amidst the burgeoning spiritual landscape, the teachings of the Buddha were beginning to spread like wildfire. His gentle wisdom, profound insights, and serene presence drew crowds from all walks of life. People, weary of the incessant striving and suffering of worldly existence, found solace and a path to liberation in his simple yet profound message. They would sit for hours, captivated by his silence, his teachings, or simply the peaceful aura that surrounded him. However, not everyone viewed this burgeoning spiritual movement with equanimity. Picture, if you will, a man named Dhanapati, a name that means Lord of Wealth in Sanskrit, and truly, he lived up to it. Dhanapati was a successful, astute businessman, his days consumed by the intricate dance of commerce. He understood markets, he understood profit, and he understood the relentless pursuit of material gain. To him, every moment was an opportunity for accumulation, every resource a tool for further expansion. His life was a testament to the prevailing societal values of his time: hard work, ambition, and the creation of a secure livelihood through enterprise. Dhanapati's focus was entirely external. His identity was wrapped up in his achievements, his family's prosperity, and his reputation as a shrewd and capable provider. He embodied the very essence of worldly ambition, believing firmly that security, happiness, and success were tangible outcomes of diligent effort and strategic planning. His worldview was one of cause and effect, where effort directly translated into reward, and any deviation from this path was, by definition, a waste. A father's frustration when spiritual path clashes with material goals. It was this very rigid worldview that brought Dhanapati into direct conflict with the burgeoning influence of the Buddha. His children, once diligent in their studies and apprenticeship in the family business, had begun to gravitate towards the Buddha's assemblies. They were spending hours, not in the bustling marketplace, not poring over ledgers, but seated in quiet contemplation, listening to the teachings of this enigmatic figure whose eyes, as Dhanapati would observe with growing irritation, were often closed in deep meditation. Dhanapati's internal monologue, agitated, frustrated. What in the world are they doing? My sons, my daughters, heirs to my flourishing business, wasting their precious youth, sitting silently, listening to this wanderer. 4 hours. 4 hours they could be learning trade, expanding our network, ensuring their future, our future. Instead, they're sitting next to someone whose eyes are always closed, talking about, what? Detachment? Emptiness? This is madness, a complete waste of time. How will they secure their livelihood? How will they prosper if they spend their days in such idleness? The irony, of course, was that the Buddha was teaching a path to a different kind of prosperity, an inner wealth that transcended the fleeting gains of the market. But to Dhanapati, whose entire life revolved around tangible assets and quantifiable profits, this was not just incomprehensible. It was a direct threat to his carefully constructed world. His frustration mounted, fueled by a mixture of paternal concern, societal expectation, and a profound misunderstanding of the spiritual path. He felt a deep sense of betrayal, a failure in his role as a father, if his children were abandoning the secure path he had laid out for them. This wasn't mere annoyance, it was a deep-seated anger born of fear. Fear for his family's future, fear for his legacy, and perhaps a subconscious fear of the unknown that this Buddha represented. He saw the Buddha not as a spiritual guide, but as a disruptive force, an idle mystic luring away the productivity and potential of the youth. His heart swelled with indignation. Dhanapati, to himself, clenching his fists. "I am going to teach this man a lesson. He is disrupting the very fabric of our society, drawing away the able-bodied and the ambitious from their rightful duties. Someone needs to put an end to this absurdity." With a heart heavy with anger, a mind clouded by prejudice, and a sense of righteous indignation, Dhanapati strode purposefully towards the assembly where the Buddha was teaching. He walked with the confidence of a man accustomed to having his will obeyed, ready to confront, to admonish, to set things right according to his own rigid understanding of the world. What he didn't realize was that he was about to step into a moment that would shatter his entire worldview, a moment that would become a profound lesson not just for him, but for generations to come. Chapter 2. The Unforgettable Encounter. A smile amidst the storm, the unspoken confrontation, when anger meets stillness. Dhanapati, filled with a burning resolve, pushed his way through the gentle crowd. His eyes, narrowed with fury, locked onto the figure of the Buddha, seated peacefully amidst his disciples. He was prepared to unleash a torrent of accusations, a scathing reprimand for what he perceived as the Buddha's irresponsible influence. His mind raced with carefully crafted arguments, his heart pounded with the adrenaline of confrontation. But something inexplicable happened as he drew near. The profound stillness that emanated from the Buddha, a serene presence that seemed to absorb all sound and commotion, began to affect Dhanapati in ways he could not comprehend. His carefully rehearsed words, his articulate condemnations, seemed to dissolve into thin air. His logical mind, so adept at business dealings, found itself paralyzed. Dhanapati's internal experience, confused, disoriented. What is this? My thoughts, they're gone. All the arguments, the clever retorts, they just vanished. But the anger is still here, burning. Why can't I speak? Why can't I move my tongue? He stood before the Buddha, shaking uncontrollably, his body trembling with the intensity of his unexpressed rage. He was utterly speechless, unable to articulate the storm raging within him. The very force of his emotions, denied an outlet through words, twisted into a physical manifestation. In that moment of frustrated impotence, with no other means to express his overwhelming contempt and anger, Dhanapati resorted to a primal, visceral act. He simply spat on Buddha's face. The saliva, wet and contemptuous, landed on the serene visage of the awakened one. The Buddha's response, a smile that shook a soul. The assembly gasped, a collective intake of breath that vibrated through the air. The Buddha's disciples, who had been sitting in respectful silence, were instantly engulfed in a wave of righteous fury. They loved and revered their teacher deeply, and to witness such a reprehensible act of disrespect was unbearable. Their hands clenched, their muscles tensed. They were ready to jump to the Buddha's defense, to confront the aggressor, to avenge this outrageous insult. Disciples' collective thought, seething. How dare he? How could anyone behave in such a manner with the Blessed One? We must act. We must protect our master. Yet they were held back. Not by a command, not by a gesture, but by the sheer unyielding presence of the Buddha himself. His stillness was absolute, his calm profound. It was a presence that simply did not allow for violence or impulsive reaction. It was as if an invisible force field of peace surrounded him, diffusing any aggressive intent. They found themselves utterly unable to move, their bodies frozen, their anger simmering but unable to boil over. They simply could not believe what they had just witnessed, nor could they act upon their outrage. And the Buddha? He did not flinch. He did not recoil. He did not show any sign of shock, offense, or anger. Instead, he simply smiled. A gentle, calm, knowing smile. A smile that seemed to understand, to embrace, to transcend the very act of aggression. He remained utterly undisturbed, his eyes still closed or gazing softly forward, the spit glistening on his cheek. Dhanapati, the furious businessman, was utterly bewildered. His act of defiance had produced no reaction, not from the Buddha, nor from the surrounding disciples, who remained motionless, albeit visibly distressed. The Buddha had simply smiled in return. This lack of reaction was paradoxically far more unsettling than any fiery rebuke. It deflated his anger, leaving him feeling hollow and foolish. He couldn't stand there any longer. The absence of a conventional reaction, the unnerving calm of the Buddha, the silent disapproval of the disciples, it was all too much. He felt a strange, inexplicable pressure building within him. Dhanapati's internal monologue. If I stay longer, I will burst. I will explode. This is not how it's supposed to happen. And so, without another word, he turned and walked away, his confident stride now a hurried, desperate retreat. He had come to teach a lesson, but it was he who had received one, though he wouldn't fully understand its import until much later. The image of that gentle, smiling face, stained by his own contempt, would be etched into his mind, an indelible mark that would haunt his waking hours and disturb his sleep. Chapter 3. The Night of Transformation, Guilt's Embrace, the Haunting Smile, an Indelible Mark. Dhanapati fled the assembly, his body still trembling, but now not just with anger, but with a new, unsettling sensation, confusion, shame, and a burgeoning sense of dread. He returned home, the familiar comforts of his luxurious abode offering no solace. His mind, usually sharp and focused on business strategies, was now irrevocably fixated on one image: the serene, smiling face of the Buddha, stained by his own contemptible act. Dhanapati's internal monologue, obsessed, restless. That smile, that impossible smile. Who could react like that? Every man I've ever known, every person who has been insulted, would have reacted with anger, with violence, with a demand for retribution. But him, he just smiled. No rage, no flinch, no sign of disgust. Just that infuriating, serene smile. For the first time in his life, Dhanapati had encountered someone whose reaction to such a disrespectful, provocative act was utterly extraordinary, defying all conventional human responses. It was so unexpected, so alien to his understanding of human nature, that it shook him to his core. The Buddha's unwavering calm, his inexplicable non-reaction, had punctured the armor of Dhanapati's pride and anger, leaving him exposed to a raw, unfamiliar emotion: guilt, the collapse of a world, a night without sleep. Sleep, usually a welcome escape from the day's anxieties, became an impossibility. He tossed and turned, the image of the Buddha's smiling face replaying endlessly in his mind's eye. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw it, clearer and more unsettling than before. His carefully constructed world, built on principles of action, reaction, power, and control, seemed to be collapsing around him. The physical manifestations of his internal turmoil were undeniable. He shivered, shook, and felt a profound chill despite the warmth of his bed. His stomach churned, his head throbbed. This wasn't just a bad night. It was a profound physical and emotional transformation, a spiritual crisis. Dhanapati's internal monologue, despairing. My world has collapsed. Everything I believed about how things work, how people react, how power is asserted, it's all meaningless now. This man, he holds no power in the conventional sense, yet his stillness, his smile, has utterly defeated me. I have never felt such shame, such self-loathing. What have I done? How could I have behaved so despicably? The realization dawned on him with a crushing weight. His anger had not harmed the Buddha. It had only harmed himself. His contempt had not diminished the Buddha. It had only revealed his own darkness. The target of his rage remained untouched, serene, while he, the aggressor, was left shattered. This profound insight, born of a sleepless night of intense self-reflection, was the beginning of his awakening. He had set out to teach a lesson, but the universe, through the Buddha, was teaching him. By the time dawn broke, casting a soft golden light into his room, Dhanapati was a changed man. The proud, furious businessman of yesterday had been replaced by a humbled, desperate soul. The weight of his guilt was unbearable, and he knew there was only one path forward, one chance at redemption. He had to face the man he had wronged, not with anger, but with sincere remorse. Chapter 4. The Paradox of Forgiveness. That person is not here anymore, seeking atonement. A humbled request. The first rays of dawn found Dhanapati already on his feet. He didn't bother with his usual morning rituals or the day's business. His only goal, his singular purpose, was to return to the Buddha's assembly. But this time, his demeanor was entirely different. The arrogant stride had been replaced by a hesitant, almost shuffling gait. The furious glint in his eyes had been replaced by a look of profound sorrow and humility. He approached the assembly, his heart pounding, not with rage, but with a mixture of trepidation and desperate hope. He saw the Buddha once again seated in his customary peaceful posture, surrounded by his disciples. Dhanapati, without a moment's hesitation, walked directly up to the Buddha and, in an act of complete surrender, fell at Buddha's feet. Tears welled in his eyes as he spoke, his voice trembling with genuine remorse. Dhanapati, sobbing, "Please forgive me. I did not know what I was doing. I was blinded by anger, by ignorance. I behaved abominably, disrespectfully. Please accept my deepest apologies. Forgive me, Blessed One." The disciples, witnessing this dramatic transformation, exchanged surprised glances. They expected the Buddha to readily offer his boundless compassion, as he always had. After all, the Buddha was known for his limitless acceptance, for welcoming everyone into his fold regardless of their past misdeeds, their social standing, or their personal history. He had embraced thieves, murderers, and outcasts, offering them a path to redemption. They braced themselves for a gentle nod, a compassionate smile, a word of acceptance. The unexpected refusal, a profound teaching. But what the Buddha said next shocked everyone, even his closest disciples, to their very core. Buddha, calmly, gently, yet with an unexpected firmness, "I cannot excuse you." A collective gasp swept through the assembly once more. The disciples were utterly dumbfounded. This was completely out of character for the compassionate Buddha. Their minds raced, trying to reconcile this refusal with everything they knew about their teacher. Why would he, the embodiment of compassion, deny forgiveness to a man who was so clearly remorseful, so genuinely seeking atonement? Had he finally reached a limit? Was this act truly unforgivable? The Buddha looked around, his gaze sweeping over the shocked faces of his disciples and the despairing form of Dhanapati. He understood their confusion, their bewilderment. He then began to explain, his voice resonating with a deeper wisdom that transcended their conventional understanding of forgiveness. "Buddha, why should I excuse you when you have not done anything wrong? What wrong have you done that I should excuse your behavior?" Dhanapati, still prostrate at the Buddha's feet, looked up, his face a mixture of confusion and renewed despair. "Dhanapati," she, bewildered. But I am the same person. Yesterday I came to this assembly, and in my anger, I spat on your face. It is me! I am that person!" The Buddha's response was profound, cutting through the conventional understanding of identity and time. "Buddha," with a gentle, knowing smile, "that person is not here anymore. If I ever meet the person on whom you spat, I will tell them to excuse you. For me, the person who is right here in this moment, you, are wonderful. You have done nothing wrong." This was not a literal denial of the event, but a radical redefinition of identity and the nature of change. The Buddha was teaching about impermanence, anicca, and non-self, anatta, in a deeply practical and transformative way. The angry, ignorant man who spat was a transient collection of thoughts, emotions, and actions that no longer existed in the present moment. The man prostrating before him was different, transformed by his remorse and realization. True forgiveness, beyond guilt and blame. The Buddha continued, elaborating on his profound understanding of true forgiveness, a concept far removed from the societal norms of blame, punishment, and lingering guilt. Buddha, you see, in life, when do we truly forgive a person? True forgiveness is when you forgive a person, and that someone doesn't even know that he is being forgiven. That person shouldn't feel guilty for his deed. This is the right kind of forgiveness. If you forgive someone and keep reminding them about their mistake and make them feel guilty all the time, then, in truth, you've simply not forgiven them yet. Guilt itself should be enough punishment for a person. This teaching illuminated a crucial point. Conventional forgiveness often comes with strings attached. We say, "I forgive you," but then we hold on to the memory of the transgression, perhaps using it as leverage in future arguments, or allowing it to subtly poison the relationship. This is not true forgiveness. It is merely a conditional truce. True forgiveness, as the Buddha taught, transcends the need for acknowledgement or even the awareness of the offender. It is an internal act of liberation for the forgiver, releasing the burden of resentment and the desire for retribution. And for the one being forgiven, it means they are not perpetually weighed down by the guilt of their past actions. The Buddha implicitly taught that Dhanapati's night of tormented self-reflection and genuine remorse was, in itself, the necessary purification. There was no need for external condemnation or a public pronouncement of forgiveness that would reimpose guilt. The angry man who spat no longer existed. He had been transformed by the internal fire of guilt and remorse. The man prostrate before the Buddha was a new being, cleansed by his suffering and ready for a different path. The Buddha's refusal to excuse him was, in fact, the deepest form of compassion, recognizing the inherent purity of the transformed individual in the present moment and gently guiding him beyond the shackles of his past self. It was a profound lesson in radical acceptance and the liberating power of truly letting go. Chapter 5: Personal Reflections. The Architecture of Forgiveness. The story of Dhanapati and the Buddha offers a multi-layered insight into one of humanity's most complex emotional and spiritual challenges: forgiveness. As a longtime student and researcher of Buddhist philosophy, this narrative resonates deeply with several core tenets that I believe are crucial for personal well-being and societal harmony. 1. The burden of anger and the unseen consequences. Dhanapati's initial anger, fueled by misunderstanding and fear, highlights a universal truth. Unexamined anger primarily harms the one who holds it. His rage did not disturb the Buddha. It shattered Dhanapati's own inner peace, leading to a night of torment and a profound sense of collapse. This aligns perfectly with the Buddhist understanding of anger as a poison that consumes the vessel it inhabits. My personal observation is that we often project our anger outwards, expecting it to inflict pain on others. We believe that by expressing our rage, we are asserting our power or seeking justice. However, as demonstrated by the Buddha's unwavering calm, anger often falls flat when it meets no resistance. Instead, it ricochets back, leaving the aggressor exhausted, ashamed, and burdened. This is a crucial lesson in emotional intelligence. Understanding that our emotional states are primarily our responsibility, and their external projection often has unforeseen and self-destructive consequences. It is a call to recognize anger not as a tool for control, but as an indicator of internal imbalance.